Hi, my name's Stephanie Toman and I run the ICDL programme. This lecture I'm doing today, this demonstration, is with regard to week 6. So it's week 6 for Advanced Word Processing, or AE332.com. What we're going to cover in this session will be linking and embedding, the last couple of sections of the manual, and the last part will be macros. I will do a week revision exercise video following this that covers questions 29 to 30. So what we need to do in order to do this is you need your lecture materials from Aula. Make sure you have the right ones and they look like this. So we're looking at week 6 now, and we're looking at section 12 and 13. We open that up. The first one we're going to look at is linking and embedding. Open up new document and be aware that we're going to bring out, open up our link text as well. So it might be worth having these on your desktop. Okay, easier to get to. Okay, so documents can be linked to external data. And so if they're linked, if you change one data source, they will both change. And when you do it from a spreadsheet, for example, into a Word document, then you sometimes have to use the update link as well. Another area that we'll be looking at are breaking links, and you need to do that for the exam as well as part of the syllabus. So we've got links from objects outside of a document, and you can break those links as well. The other way of bringing objects in is to have them embedded, which means that they sit in Word, and you'll see this in a moment, and they'll have frames around them. You can change them within the Word document, but it doesn't make any changes to the source. Okay, so no change when it's embedded. So two different types, linked and embedded. First thing we're going to look at is people don't realise that you can link text in using the object. So if you go to Insert and you go to Object, try and go on the drop down. It hasn't done that for me. There we go. And go from Text from File. So you can bring text in. So I'm going to go back to the folder on the desktop. Oops, there we go, into here. And we're going to click on the link text. And if you drop down the box here, you can insert text. This is one way of doing it, as linked. So if I insert as linked text, and you know it's linked, because when you click on it, it goes grey. If I open up the actual text I brought in, which is, oops, let's not use that one. Go back. I'm going to open up the link text. This is what we just brought in. And I'm going to go to View tab and click on View Side by Side. So I have them both in there. There's the text I brought in. This is the original. This is the linked, and you can see the difference. So if I deleted a Labrador there, and I right click on this and update, you can guess what happens. So what I do to one will happen to the other. However, we're going to look at some objects bringing in from different objects like pie charts and things. I'm going to close these down, don't save. Just people rarely use the text linking. They just stick to objects. So back to a new document, or you can open up a new one of your own if you're following things. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in a linked object, and we're going to put in an embedded, and look what the difference is and what's expected from the exam for us. Okay, give it a bit of room. Right, first we're going to bring in a linked object. Right, there's two ways of doing this. So you can go through the insert and you can go to the object, click on there, and we can then navigate to where the item is. Create from file. Link if it's going to be linked straight away, or you can do it after, but I do it straight away in case I forget. I'm going to browse to it. It's on my desktop. And back to the weekly lecture files, and in here we can find the object to bring in. Let's try that again, double click. It is linked, so when I OK, it is coming in quite big, so just be aware of that. You soon reduce it. Takes a few seconds to come in. There we go. Click on it, drag it right to the center so you're reducing it within its ratio. And if I right click on this, I can see that it's a linked worksheet object. So if I go to the folder that I've just taken it from and open that up outside of the link. Okay. And here's our document, our Word document, and here's our linked. Okay, so this is what we brought in. This one's linked to that. So let me just bring that back up again so you can see it. So if I go into the data on this and I change that 200 there to 500, click on it, and then update the document, you can see that it's gone to the spreadsheet. But if I go back into it, double click on it, get back to the chart, see how the chart's changed, then update it. Should come up with the chart again. So you can keep these things going between the two. So they are linked. Okay, and you can, like I did, you can go to different parts of the feature. We're going to link this in a minute, and I'll show you that one. Right, embedded. So an embedded object, if we can go a different way this time, let's go to the actual object and open it up in the spreadsheet. And let's copy this area here. So I've gone from, let's do A right over to J down to J7. Copy that. Click in the document, and we're going to do it this way this time. We're going to use a paste special. So either way is fine, whichever way feels more comfortable to you. People have got their own ways. Paste special takes us back to pretty much the same idea. It's a Microsoft Excel worksheet object. It's not linked. And then I OK. And then when I drop it in, take a second. You can see if I double click on it, it has a frame on it. Click off, frame's gone. And if I right click on this, you can see that it's a worksheet object, unlike this one, which is linked. So something you might ask you to do in the test with an embedded object is they may ask you to open it. So when it's open, they may ask you to change some figures in it. So you could be asked to change, that could be a different year, one. They could ask you to change some data. And another thing they can ask you to do is actually hide columns or rows. So let's say it wants you to hide the puppy picture, which means you would bring it back to column G. So if you go to the side of the frame, see the little double-sided arrow, if you drag and drop quite firmly, you can see that when you click out now, you can't see the picture of the puppy. So that's something to be aware of. And if you wanted to, if they asked you to show something, you could be asked to drop it and open it up that way. Okay, so remember, one's linked and one's embedded. With regard to breaking links, if you go to the File tab and down here at the bottom, you can see Edit Links to Files. If there's no link in the document, this is not there, it's just missing. So if you click on it, it's only one there. So it's selected, break the link, always double check, say yes, and then you can see that it's disappeared. There's no longer any links, and that will not link to that document. Okay, so we're going to do some macros. Let's open that up. Now the exam is not difficult. The macros are quite straightforward, as you'll see, so nothing to worry about, and I'll point out anything that you need. So notice these are all macro enabled, apart from that one there. And we're going to open up the portrait one. We're using the developer tab. So if you haven't got the developer tab on, remember File, Options, Customize ribbon, and you can tick it on there and OK. And that way you can get a much better view of macros, etc. So to see if we have any macros, to view them, we go in here and we've got an old one. I'm going to delete that. Yes, and then a close. So we're going to create some now of our own. So we're using the record macro to name it. So portrait, I'm going to do a portrait one. Notice in the exam, you may be asked to save or store it in this document only. We're going to keep it in the normal doc, but be very aware of that. It's easily missed. When I OK, the recording can start. You can see it's on my cursor. My stop button is down here, right in the status bar at the bottom, and the stop recording has also changed up here, okay, from macro name, or record macro, I should say. So let's do the job. Go into layout, go into orientation, change it to portrait, give it a second, there it is, and stop. Into developer tab, let's have a look, there it is. So we've actually got it. Good. Now let's make one that's landscape. So back to record macro, let's call it landscape. You can see where this is going. Keep it in the normal dot, OK, into layout and onto landscape. Let's run it, stop it, and then back into developer tab. And there you go, we've got it. So let's run the portrait. You can guess what happens. Let's go in, let's run the landscape. There you go, so we've made two. So it's quite straightforward. One of the most common things in the exam is that people are asked to save as macro enabled after they've done it. And what they tend to do is do it while they're still in the macro. So you'll be saving to the Z drive and you'll be making it macro enabled. Make sure it does go to the Z drive when you change the file save as type. And then you'll be giving it a name if you have to. So be careful, make sure that when you do save, you're actually completed your macro and ended it. Let's have a look at some other ones. Let's close that, not save. And let's open up the no border. So this is quite a common one in the exam, whereby, I'm just going to bring this up a little bit. You have to select something because before you start the macro, you cannot select things once you're in the macro. You can use all of the features, but you cannot select. So with a table, we're going to do a no borders. You can guess what we're going to do. You select the table first, and in the question they will use the word select. So they're not trying to do you up or anything. So we've selected it. We're going into developer tab, record macro. I'm going to call it no borders. I'm going to store it in this document only. Okay. Why it wouldn't save it? It wouldn't save it because it doesn't like names with spaces. So if I use no borders, I have to use an underscore or put it all together. That's what it didn't like. So be really careful. It's VB8, doesn't like spaces. So now it should go ahead and it's quite happy. I'm going into my home tab. I know where my borders are. No borders, I click on it, takes place, and I stop the macro. So now you can guess what I'm going to do. Go and have a look. And there it is. Good. If we if we try to open another one, this one, borders, and I click on it, can I run the macro I've just created? Let's have a look. It's not there, and the reason it's not there is because I saved it to that document only. That's why I can't do it. So if you're storing it in the exam, I would expect you to do that for them. But remember, in the real world, if you store it to that document only, you can't use it on another document. Because normally I would be able to use that. So I'm going to record another one. I'm going to do borders. Okay, I'm not storing it anywhere in particular. On the home tab, I'm going to put some borders on and stop. Okay. If we have a look at the margins, there's the margins one. Let's open that one up really quick. You can do, let's go in and see what we've got. Got a landscape, we could run that. Okay, so these are quite good for running. I can do a margin one. So if I went to record a macro, margins, I could do some features in my headers and footers, because I don't want to be doing laborious, boring tasks. I want it to do it for me on the click of a button. So I could have particular margins that I want on this and then stop. and I could apply that then to the documents that I needed. So if I was doing a header and footer, for example, so if I did a developer tab and a macro, let's just record one, so footer. Okay, in the exam, I could go into the footer like there, and then I could use date and time. Okay, and this could be part of a macro, document information, file path, and stop. And that would then be within my developer tab, and they're all in there. Also, what you can do, this is not in the test, so don't worry about this. What you can do is you can pop macros onto your quick access toolbar. So if you drop that down and go to more commands, if you drop down this area and go to macros, you can see them all there. These are all the ones that we've just created. You can highlight them, take them over, as you can see. Oh, sorry. I need to do different ones. It would help. There we go. And then I could pick one. Let's say the borders one. I could modify it with a picture. So I could find something that fits it. Like that. I don't know. Crisscross. Got one. This one I could, margins I could do as a smiley face. And then you've got, there's your macros there. There's my border one. So if I click on there, and I click on border, it's bordered it. If I can't remember what my smiley face was, but there's some other ones that's portrait, obviously, and you hover on them, they'll tell them what they are. So that's macros, nothing too much to worry about, very straightforward. Keep your head, have a look to see where the item is before you start doing it, and don't include saving it, so macro enabled in your recording.